Hello, YouTubers. Hey, it's working. Yeah. Yeah. Isn't this nice? Well, I'm assuming that this is all gonna work. And, okay. Well, as you can see, this is a bunch of pictures of a 1990 Camaro rear end, the one end of it, the rusty end. This is a bunch of pictures I took of my rear end of my 39. I was going to put this into my 39 Pontiac. What I did was I found a guy in the neighborhood that wanted to sell a rear end, and he said some people that he knew had put new guts in the rear end, and that it had lasted about 50 feet. So what they did was they put in different ring gear, and they left the pinion the same, and they were trying to get a different ratio. And it turns out that the ring gear and the pinion gear did not mesh properly, and so the rear end blew up. So when I got it, the carrier was stock carrier, and I wanted the positraction, so I ended up buying a Auburn positraction carrier and new gears. I think I ended up with 356s, and then I began putting things together, new bearings, and all that kind of stuff. So to do this, I just read up all this stuff that I'm posting, and if you want to do your own rear end, you just get all this junk and you just read it, and then you go study your parts and try and figure out which goes which way. Learn as you go. Took me about 3 months, maybe 4 months or so, of working on it, pretty much every day, a little bit every day in the garage there, beating on it some of the times, hacking on it with the fire wrench. I built a set of pullers to pull the wheel bearings, I think they're called, at the end. They were kind of stuck in the rear end, and I bought a inch-ounce torque wrench, because you're supposed to tighten up the pinion gear bearings. You're supposed to preload them a little bit, and so you need an inch-ounce torque wrench for that. And the rental place, they rented them for half as much money as it cost to buy them, so I just bought my own. So I never really gonna use it, but I got one. So yeah, so here you go. There's a picture of the spring mounts coming apart. Oh, yeah, the spring mounts. I didn't want them on there because they were in the wrong spot. So what I did was I bought some spring mounts, I think from Summit, and then I cut these off as good as I could and ground off what was left. See, there's my little grinder there. Tried to get the stuff that was welded on there off, and then I used my wire feed welder to weld the new mounts on. I don't know if it's supposed to do it, but I made it do it. You can see where I've been grinding here, and aren't these pictures happy? You're interested, aren't you? Well, anyway, this is what the process of taking the spring mounts. I'll have to use a lot of pictures of that, huh? Then, I'm using my engine puller thing to hold this These rear ends are heavy, so a lot of, blue fingers and so on. This is the old carrier coming out. You can see probably, if you look real close, you can see that these gears, the teeth are kind of mangled. I thought maybe I was going to be able to use the ring gear again, because I was really stupid. But it turns out I couldn't use the ring gear. The carrier as well, I couldn't use that because it wasn't, it needed to have a spacer behind the ring gear in order to get the ring gear over next to the pinion for the gear ratio I wanted, and that wasn't a good idea. So I just, threw money at it and bought another carrier, and I think that may be a picture of the spacer. I don't know. Anyway, it didn't work for those guys that put it together. And these are the bearing caps. I wanted pictures of everything as I took it apart in case I couldn't figure out how to get it back together. You can see some prick punches there. Sometimes I prick punch the stuff that I'm taking apart, both parts. Prick punch it with a little drift and a hammer. And that way it leaves an indelible mark in the object, and you can see which way to put it back together when you've forgotten, because I have no short-term memory. I'm old. So here you can see I was using the engine hoist to pull the carrier out because I'm weak and puny. And here you see the old carrier and gear coming out, and whoopee, there it's out. Boy, that was fun, huh? And then you can look down. Well, you can't either because now it's gone. But you can see I've wired the bearings together with some copper wire I had laying around so that I didn't remember which outer race went to what side and all that stuff. I want to keep everything together while I was taking it apart. That was pictures of the carrier and the numbers on the carrier so I could research what I had and figure out where I was going. And this is a picture of the pinion. You can see a lot of the pinion teeth are gone. Here's a picture of the bearing cap. Going back in, the spacers. There's the pinion again. That sucker was roasted. I still got it. You can use it for a hammer. It's pretty massive thing. There's some teeth laying down in there. Some bearing parts or spacer or something that got ate up in there where the pinion goes. Here's the pinion out and bearing and so on. That was fun. The new pinion gear. There's a spacer between it and the bearing that goes in there, and you have to keep testing the mesh of the teeth, and put in another spacer and test it again, and so on and so forth. And it gets to be old hat after a while. That's what the pros do, that kind of stuff. This is a bearing puller that I built to pull the wheel bearings out, or the end of the axle bearing, or whatever you want to call those things. They didn't come out easy, by golly. My bearing puller was adequate, but didn't work all that well, but it did pull the bearings out. I would suggest buying your own. Of course, kind of expensive. There's me pounding on my my new carrier bearings, I guess you'd call them. There's the new carrier and some metric sockets. It's my metric socket set. Ooh, there's I don't know, I saved some of the old bearings, and well, that could have been an old bearing and the new bearing. There's my dial calipers, plastic dial calipers. Go figure, huh? Well, they get the job done. And yep, there's another shot of the positraction, this Auburn positraction, and I forget what the gears are. I got all this stuff online. and fiddle around. You can find this stuff online. Good deals. Here you put this yellow junk on your bearings, on your gears. Rather, not bearings, gears. And then you assemble the whole freaking thing, and then you turn the input shaft, and it is sort of squished up against the faces, the front face and the rear face of all the gears, and then you look at the pattern that's worn away, and you match that to some of the documentation that I showed earlier, and that's how you know where your pinion gear is inside the rear end. When the pinion gear is placed properly, it scrapes a pattern that is in the middle of the teeth of the ring gear. You have to be a pro to know exactly how that pattern is supposed to look. Now, it's in the documents that I showed earlier, if you care to look at them. But I had almost $1,000 in parts in this rear end, 9 something. And so I didn't want to just throw it in the car and then have it blow up and fall out, and then have to have a pro redo the whole rear end, because I'm sick of playing with the thing. So I took it to a pro rear end fixer-upper guy, and loaded it in my pickup truck and took it out to this guy, and I paid him $100 to see if my setup was proper. And I asked him if it was okay, and he said, "You were really close." So I patted myself on the back. So I don't know if he did anything to it, but for sure, because I didn't get to watch him. But anyway, I then put the rear end in my car, and everybody, that's it. The end. Bye-bye.